On a sunny morning in Hoedspruit, South Africa, Liana, a young volunteer, stumbles upon an unimaginable discovery amidst a massive landfill. What she thought was just another pile of trash turns out to be a tiny, helpless lion cub, abandoned and fighting for its life. With wounds, malnourishment, and a collar marked Milo, this once loved creature has been left to die. But Liana refuses to let him go. This is the story of an incredible rescue, a bond that would change their lives forever, and a young woman's fight to save a wild animal against all odds. On a bright, sunlit morning at a large landfill just outside Hoedspruit, South Africa, a group of dedicated volunteers were on a mission. They were sorting through piles of recyclables, collecting plastic, scrap metal, and clearing every patch of land overwhelmed by trash. Among them was Liana, a 24-year-old volunteer with an unwavering love for animals and a deep passion for protecting the environment. Then, out of the soft rustle of plastic bags and the whisper of the wind, she heard a strange, faint whimper. Everyone paused. Some guessed it was a stray cat. Others suspected it might be an injured puppy hiding in the mess. Liana's heart raced as she sprinted toward the heap of black bags, her instinct driving her to search each one. She froze. There, lying motionless amid the trash, was a tiny creature. Its eyes were closed, chest heaving faintly, its fragile body covered in dirt and open wounds. Around its neck was a weathered leather collar, the name Milo engraved on it, a name that broke Liana's heart. Milo had been abandoned. There was no doubt. It was clear he was once a pet, left to die when he became ill. The others stepped back, afraid of what might happen if the cub suddenly woke up and attacked. But Liana's heart was filled with nothing but compassion as she gently approached the trembling cub. Without hesitation, she carefully picked him up and wrapped him in the old sweater she wore. Milo's fur was matted, his ribs visible, his stomach sunken. He was fragile, weak, and in dire need of help. He didn't struggle, he didn't scratch. He let out a soft groan, collapsing in Liana's arms, trusting her completely. Tears streamed down Liana's face as she gazed at the pitiful little creature in her arms. She made a decision right then and there. She couldn't leave him behind. She hugged him tightly, running home to care for him. "I'll save you, Milo," she whispered, her heart full of determination to do everything she could to save this beautiful creature. At home, Liana carefully laid Milo on a clean towel, gently wiping away the dirt from his fur. The injuries were worse than she'd feared. His wounds were swollen and festering, the infection already taking hold. She boiled warm water, using a soft cloth to clean each injured area, silently apologizing to Milo for what he'd suffered. Milo's breathing remained shallow, his body limp as if all hope had left him. Liana mixed special milk for animals and gently dripped it into his mouth using an old pacifier. For the first time, Milo stirred, weakly sucking the milk, as if he'd been starving for days. Liana's tears flowed again, but this time they were tears of hope, a glimmer of life in the darkness. After drinking, Milo rested in a small cage in the shed, surrounded by blankets, water, and a little bed of comfort. Despite his weakness, Milo's eyes followed Liana with quiet gratitude. Each night, Liana set an alarm, waking every 2 hours to check on him. And every time, she found him still, breathing lightly, showing no signs of worsening. But one morning, as the sun peeked over the horizon, Liana's heart dropped when she found Milo motionless in his cage. She called his name, shaking his small body, but there was no response. "No, not now," she cried, her voice trembling as she cradled him in her arms, the reality of his frailty sinking in. Milo was cold. His body was still, and it seemed as though the fight had left him. With no time to lose, Liana ran out of the house, holding Milo tight, her heart breaking with each desperate step. She rushed to the town's veterinary clinic, hoping they would treat the dying cub. but the doctor turned her away, saying, "We only treat dogs and cats, not wild animals." A sympathetic staff member directed her to Moholoholo Reserve, 50 kilometers away. Liana hailed a taxi, clutching Milo tightly, her eyes red from crying, praying for a miracle. When they arrived, the conservation staff were shocked to see Liana, a young girl holding an unconscious lion cub. Liana shared the heartbreaking story, how Milo had been abandoned, left to die. They immediately rushed him to the infirmary, while Liana collapsed in the hallway, her hands clenched in anxious anticipation. Ranger, seeing her distress, quietly approached and said, "You did the right thing. Not everyone has your courage." For an agonizing hour, Liana sat waiting, her heart racing with every sound from the medical room. Finally, the door opened, and the doctor emerged, his serious expression giving way to relief. "Milo's out of danger. He's recovering," the doctor reassured her. Liana's tears of joy flowed again as she whispered thanks to the heavens. Inside the medical room, Milo was hooked up to oxygen and IV fluids, his body stabilizing. The veterinarian treated his wounds, making sure the young lion had the chance to heal. Milo's heart rate was steady now, and the signs of recovery were clear. Though malnourished, Milo didn't have any dangerous infections threatening his life. The team monitored his temperature and fed him small amounts of nourishment, keeping a close watch for the next 72 hours. The collar around his neck, engraved with a number, was noted for police investigation. As Liana waited, asking constant questions, she was reassured by the staff who brought her water and told her to stay calm. Finally, the doctor emerged with great news. Milo had awakened and recognized her voice. She rushed inside and found him weak but alive, his eyes meeting hers with a soft recognition. Liana couldn't contain her emotions as she whispered, "I will never let you be abandoned again." The next morning, Liana returned with fresh supplies, and Milo greeted her with a wobbly walk, rubbing his head against her affectionately. Milo was now in a special monitoring cage, safe and surrounded by everything he needed to recover. The conservation. Staff confirmed Milo had been illegally raised and abandoned when he fell ill. The reserve would rehabilitate him, preparing him to return to the wild once he was strong enough. Liana's courage didn't go unnoticed. She was invited to join the Moholoholo team as a full-time animal caretaker. Her dream had come true. Liana had found her true calling in life. Weeks later, Liana stood proudly in her new uniform, her name tag reading, "Wildlife Rehabilitation." Her job was to care for Milo, watching him grow stronger, healthier, and more playful each day. From a young volunteer to a dedicated protector of wildlife, Liana's journey had just begun. Every morning, Milo ran to Liana, rubbing his head against her hand before breakfast. Their bond was unbreakable, a story of love, hope, and a second chance. Milo's story spread, inspiring many to protect and preserve the precious wildlife around them, and their journey continues, starting from a fragile cub to a bright future for both of them. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support wildlife conservation. See you in the next episode.